Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning from wherever you are joining us from today. Welcome to a Microsoft Reactor live stream event. My name is Kaylee, and I'm the event planner for the Redmond Reactor space. Before we kick off the session, I have some housekeeping rules I'd like to run through. Please take a moment to review our code of conduct. We seek to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. We encourage engagement in the chat, but please be mindful of your commentary and please remain professional and on topic. If you would like to refer back to today's session, you can do so on our Reactor YouTube channel after today's live stream. This session will run for about 1 hour. Please submit your questions through the chat and we will try to answer as many as possible. Additional learning links will be added to the chat during the session. It is now time to begin the session, so I will hand it over to today's speakers.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kylie. And we're taking over from here. Hi, Waldek. How are you doing today?
Hey, Aisha. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Excited for day 2 in Hack Together. We already started seeing some exciting projects coming over, and they already submitted, actually. So I'm really excited to hear more about Graph, deep dive, and maybe live coding a little bit today.
Absolutely, right? So for today, day 2, we've got exciting guests. We will learn more about the Microsoft Graph even more, and then we will see in practice how can you use the latest, newest Microsoft Graph .NET SDK version 5 if you are in Rome, how you can use that to connect to Microsoft Graph from your .NET apps. But first things first, let's have a quick recap at what Hack Together is, what we have done, what we are about to do, and then we will deep dive in Microsoft Graph and .NET. So with that, we will have a quick overview at program, what is it that we do, the coming days, and then we will jump into the main part of the talk. We will recap and then share with you what is next to follow. All right, so overview. What is this hack? For 15 days, we will be here helping you hacking around with Microsoft Graph and .NET, building cool apps, whether it's web app, console app, daemon app, API, .NET MAUI app, UWP app, you name it. As long as it uses .NET and Microsoft Graph .NET SDK, you are in. Submit your hack and be eligible for cool prizes that we have. We will talk about that more. Over the course of the next 2 weeks, you will see us coming up with our guests from community, product groups, MVPs, being here and telling you more about what is it that you can do with Microsoft Graph and .NET. Today we are on March 2, day 2 of the event. We will be back live on March 8, and then we will close down the event with a recap and telling you more about how you can engage with the community that we have around Microsoft Graph. How do you take part? There are just 2 steps you have to do. First of all, register. Why, you ask? Well, because if you win a cool prize, we want to know where to send that to, right? So we need your address, and there are a few rules we need to align with, right? So go through the form. You can see the link on the screen. It's aka.ms/hack-together/register, or scan the QR code, follow the form, go through it, and join us for the hack. Step 2, where is the place to be? The repo that we have. We put together resources and links that will help you hack on Microsoft Graph and .NET. We build even template apps that allow you to kind of short circuit your hack and kind of jump over the first hoop, like how do you do auth, how do you get token? We've got that already in place. So if you want to start with that, you can use template apps and you can start hacking away. Prizes, we mentioned that already. Aisha, what people can win?
Yeah, so that's the best part of the hackathon. If you join this hackathon, if you register, and everyone whoever submit a project, as long as you're using Microsoft Graph .NET SDK in your project, first of all, you will win a Credly digital badge. You can see at the bottom of the slide, you will win the school badge, and you can share across the social platforms. You can attach in your profile, and everyone who is submitting the project will earn this digital badge anyways. And we have some other categories, criteria we check for you to give you some more prizes. If you take the first place, the first prize winner will get Xbox and $200 gift card and $100 Azure credit with a digital Credly badge. If you're joining as a team, if you're a team of 4, everyone in the first prize winner will get Xbox, $200 gift card, $100 Azure credit, and digital Credly badge. So you don't have to share Xbox. And
Exactly.
everyone
There's
in the
enough time for everybody, right, to play.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone should register the hackathon separately. But when you're submitting your project, you just need to mention who worked on that project, so that if you win the first prize, we will send 4 of you Xboxes. If you take the second prize winner, yeah, go ahead, Bolek.
Yeah, there was one thing that somebody in the audience asked. How and where can I submit the project?
Okay, so go to ak.ms/hacktogether. There you will see in our README file main page of our repository, there's a link you can submit your project, or if you just go ahead and create an issue, we count that as a project. The only thing you have to do is just share the title, description, and GitHub repo of your project so that we can take a look, see if you use graph.net, and then as well as we just want to check out how creative, innovative you are, as well as just to see that if your project is working, and then we count that as submission. To learn more, you can just go to ak.ms/hacktogether. You will find all the information, how you can submit your project, how you can register to the challenge in our main page. So
Cool.
Let's go back to the prizes. If you take the second prize winner, you don't get Xbox, but you still get really great goodies. We give you a $200 gift card, $100 Azure credit, and a digital Credly badge. It's again, if you join as a group, 4 of you will get these prizes separately. And if you get the third prize, then you will, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so we have another thing asked from the group, right? So do projects have to be submitted by March 15? And do they have to be in MS Store?
As of today, we already received a couple of submissions. So starting from today until the end of March 15th, you can submit your project. Starting from today until the end of the hackathon, anytime you can submit your projects. And no, it doesn't have to be in the store. Just put your project in a GitHub repository and share that GitHub repository link with us. Then we're good to go. Finally, the third prize. I just want to mention that if you join as a group or individually, if you take the third prize, then you will get $100 Azure credit and again, a digital Credly badge. That's all we give as prizes, and we're looking forward to receive your projects. As I mentioned, we already started receiving some projects, and you have time until the end of March 15th. As long as you submit your project until the end of March 15th, we count that as a project. And first thing first, if your app is working, you will get a digital badge anyway. So let's take a look at the judging criteria. We would like to give you the prizes, but we have to check a couple of criteria first. The first 2 criteria is really important for us to give you the badge. As long as your app is working, and we will test your app by using your GitHub repository code, and as long as you're using Microsoft Graph .NET SDK, then you earn the digital badge right away. And in the third criteria, we take a look at the creativity, innovation, and how polished is your app. And with the third criteria, you will get a chance to win first place, second place, or the third place. But in the first 2, if you achieve first 2 in the judging criteria, you will get the digital badge right away. So I just would like to mention that if you don't want to be super creative, but you still think that learning about Microsoft Graph and .NET really fun and exciting, and as well as maybe getting a digital badge is enough for us. We already have top scenarios for Microsoft Graph written, probably 20, 30 of them available in our GitHub repository. Go ahead and check that list. If you think that one of them is really easy to start with, just start with that idea. And we just want you to get started with Microsoft Graph. Maybe after some time, you will feel more comfortable and take your project to the next step. In that point, maybe you can start adding your creativity and maybe have more polish in your project. But don't worry about having too polished, too innovative projects. You can easily start with something simple with our templates or with our scenarios shared in the repo.
Cool.
And with that, I think we can move into the real part, the real exciting part. We have super exciting guests joining us today. Our Microsoft Graph PMs, Maisa and Rabeb, will be joining. Hi, Maisa. Hi, Rabeb.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you both doing?
Great. We are here with you. We must be doing great.
Exactly. We are super excited to be here.
It's so great to have both of you here. We know both of you are amazing PMs at Graph, and we work really closely together. We just want to get to know you a little better and then jump into learning more about Graph.
Sure. So I will start because my picture is on screen. So hello, everyone. My name is Maisa Hissi. I'm product manager at Microsoft. I work in the Microsoft Graph developer experience team. So we are here to help developers to connect with Graph and have an amazing experience. I'm based in Brazil. So if I make some mistakes, bear with me. English is not my first language. And yeah, feel free to connect with me in LinkedIn, to connect with me in Twitter, send me messages, any questions you might have. We are here to help you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rabeb. I'm also a product manager with Maisa on the same team. We both work on the Microsoft Graph team, more specifically the developer experience team. I am based in the UK. Now that Maisa said it, English is also not my first language, so I'm going to use that as well. We are so happy to be here. We are really excited to see what you will be building in this hackathon. Please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions or you need help. LinkedIn, Twitter, on the GitHub discussions as well. And yes, welcome to the hackathon.
Woohoo! Awesome. This is exciting. And I think it's good that we need to highlight neither of us are native English speakers in this
No,
session.
actually not. Nope.
Yeah.
So
okay.
Which languages do we speak among each other? Aicha, you want to go first?
Yeah.
Which language do you speak?
Yeah, my native language is Turkish. Maybe we can ask our participants that they can put it in the chat. Which language is your native language?
So my native language is Polish, and I speak Polish, English, and Dutch.
Yeah.
My native language is Arabic, and I'm fluent in Arabic, French, and English.
My native language is Portuguese, and I only speak two, so sorry. It's Portuguese and English.
Yeah, that's good enough. So let's get started learning about Graph. We had amazing intro from Scott and Nina yesterday, but we want to deep dive a bit more today to understand how the entire Microsoft Graph thing works. So we will start with Rabeb, and then we will have Maisa over afterwards. So I will remove kindly Waldek and Maisa. We will have a chat with Rabeb, and then we will have you both over again. So, Rabeb, let's get started. Can you tell us what is Microsoft Graph really briefly?
Okay. Briefly, that's the challenge with this question. Okay. What is Microsoft Graph? So let's go back to the four of us. We work together, but physically we are in 3 continents, right? 4 countries. We don't work together in a physical space. And yet, I know who Aisha is. If I need to reach out to you, I have your email address. I know which team you're part of. So in a way, I also know the relationship between us, what sort of collaboration we can work together, because I can't expect from you to help me with financial things, for example, because I know like that's not your department, although you might be skilled. I'll test you later on that.
Maybe another chat, yes.
Right? And so we have all this data, we have all this information in the organization. And I suspect our audience as well, since they are here, I'm sure they have more or less the same M365 data around them in their organization, be it like a workplace or a university as well. So I work with Maisa, and she's in Brazil. If I want to set up a call with Maisa, which happens very often because we collaborate together, I like to know, first of all, when is a good time for Maisa? I know we have different time zones. All I have to do, I go to schedule my meeting, and I have a scheduling assistant who would tell me, oh, here are like the hours of the day that are most suitable for both of you. It also helps me to see, is she busy at that time? Is she available or not? Now, in my day-to-day, I don't think so much about this. I know that, I have like contacts, I know the organizations, I know their emails, I know what they do. But if we pause for a second and think about it, these actually pockets of data that are all linked and connected together in such an amazing way that, again, I don't have to think about it. From within Teams, I could do all of this. From within Teams, I can get to the users available, my contacts, organize these meetings, see their calendars, all in one place, because all these pockets of data are connecting together. And maybe, just maybe, that's why it's called graph, because it's that connection that it creates. So in a way, if we can move to the next slide, Aisha. So think of Microsoft Graph as all these like patterns of productivity. When we talk about identity, if you are like signing in, you don't need to think too much about doing it like 3-4 times, because it's different from Outlook to Teams to Excel. Maybe no, it's all under the Microsoft Graph umbrella now. So it's just one time. And luckily, all this wealth and all these capabilities are not just available for us because we are internal to Microsoft. Any of the audience, they have also like access and the relevant tools to be able to build apps that integrate with M365, thanks to the capabilities and the features that Microsoft Graph offers. And as I mentioned, go ahead, Aisha.
Yeah, so in that case, can I say every time I ping you on Teams chat, or when I schedule a call in the calendar, or maybe send out an email, add a task in my to-do, I created data in Microsoft 365 Cloud, right?
Yeah. And you are probably using an API that is under Microsoft Graph. You're probably using the Outlook API or the Mail API to make that specific call, to say send email. That's what we do, in fact. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, and as we both mentioned, me and Maisa, we work with the developer experience team, which means that our focus is to make sure that you have the right tools and the right resources to be successful, to whether you are in the beginning of your journey with Microsoft Graph or whether you are experienced. We want to make sure that you have what you need to be able to be successful and build amazing apps. So we do have a set of resources for you. There is the developer portal, aka.ms/graph. We have our documentation as well, and we have tools. Of course, we are in a little bit, we are going to be talking about the .NET SDK. So we have SDKs, we have UI components, and we do have a Graph Explorer as well. I think, Aisha, you want me to talk about the Graph Explorer, right?
Yeah, so I mean, no pressure, but that's your product. So we want to learn more about it. And probably that's the easiest place to start learning about Microsoft Graph too. So maybe a little demo would help people to get started building with Microsoft Graph for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So Graph Explorer is a developer tool from the Microsoft Graph team that would allow you to learn about Microsoft Graph, learn about the APIs, test the APIs, discover what's available on Microsoft Graph as well. And I'm not going to spend so much time talking here. Let's go and look actually at the Graph Explorer and see what we can do. So, Aisha, can everyone see my screen now?
Yes, we can see your screen. And looking at the Graph Explorer right away.
Right.
By the way, if you go to ak.ms/ge, then you can go to Graph Explorer and you can start testing with us on live screen.
Yes, please. Yes, do that. And Aisha, you know what they say about getting familiar with your own product. So please feel free to direct me if I miss something important I should be mentioning. Right. So here we have Graph Explorer. It's available. It's on the internet, publicly available, etc. And as I mentioned, with the Graph Explorer, you can test the Microsoft Graph APIs, the different APIs. Now, something we discourage our users from doing is to use your production data for testing purposes. The last thing we want is to accidentally delete something or edit something that we shouldn't be deleting. So that's our tip, advice, if you want, for you. Please do not use production data while you're testing. Instead, use a testing tenant, just some, sample data to test with, just to be on the safe side. And for that, Aisha?
Before we jump into seeing some stuff, can you zoom in a bit so people can see maybe closer?
Right, let's see. Oh, it's not. Is that better?
I think this is better, yes.
All
Thanks.
right, okay. Of course. So to test safely, what we have with Graph Explorer, first of all, we have a sandbox, sample data that you can test with. So if you notice here, I'm not signed in. So I'm not using any, I'm not using my own personal tenants or accounts. I'm just relying on what's available on the Graph Explorer sandbox. And I still can do few things. So if we, because I did zoom in, so if we do this, this is the query that would get me my profile. So if I run this, you will notice it's in fact not my profile. If you are testing live with us, you'll be seeing the exact same result as me because it's sample
in fact,
data.
there is a warning on top saying you're currently using a sample account.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is just, to get you to have a feel of some of the endpoints available. The somehow downside of this, because we are all sharing the same sample data, we are all testing with the same thing, there is so much we can do with it. So you can only use get operations. none of us is going to be deleting this or editing it. So it's just the get operation. So when you're not signed in with Graph Explorer, it will say, in fact, if I try anything that says post, it will say, oh, you can do that because this data is shared between everybody. But again, this is like a simple, great way to at least start. Now, the other option is to get a sample tenant. So if I go here and I say, can I please get a sandbox that has some sample data to test with? That will take me here to the M365 developer program. So with the developer program, you can get a sample tenant that have like data packs that would allow you to test. Basically, you've got like data to use with Teams, SharePoint, Outlook, you name it, basically, and you just get that and you can test with it.
Even with sample user profiles, there are a couple, like probably 20, 25 sample users. You can see that there are sample chats in between users. It's pretty cool. And what is more cool is it's free. So you can just sign up for it, get your sample account, sample tenant, and actually you can build your entire project and test with your sample tenant throughout Hack Together, which will make your job super easy because you don't need to get any permissions from your admin or company or school tenants are always tricky. So I wouldn't go into that.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously the subscription is it 30 or maybe 90 days? I'm not sure, but it's definitely not 15 days. And then you can renew it. So even after the hackathon, if you're still working on your project, if you like this idea and you want to do different, projects, etc., you will still be able to always renew this test tenant to help you. So if I go in this instance of Graph Explorer, here I am signed in, and if you can see, I am signed in with my test tenant. It's not my work tenant. So here I'm signed in, and if I do the same query, why is it not authorized?
Live debugging.
Okay. Oh, I know why. I'll tell you why. Because I have this here that it is a cached version, and I did sign out from here. So I am actually signed out. So I thought I would be cheating, but maybe I can't cheat. So if I just sign in now, I'm going to go here and give me 1 second. I'll just approve this and do all the things that I need to do.
No problem.
All right, we did approve that, making sure that it's me, and I say yes. And now if I run this again, do I see this?
Now we can see your data, yes.
Yeah. So, and now you see the difference. It's actually, it's my real name. It's my own data. It doesn't say Megan Bowen. So again, I just wanted to make sure that, you have options and do get a sample tenant to test with and keep your production tenant safe.
So what else we have in the samples, sample queries? Maybe like what are the popular ones people usually use in the sample queries?
So I think I have a feeling the getting started section is very popular. And I think because it's a nice introduction, it's like it's focused on the user, the signed in user. It's like, I want to get to my profile, maybe my photo, my mail, what's in my drive. So that's always popular, especially, again, if you are starting in. People who are maybe, it depends on what people are testing. We have stuff with Teams. If I look for Teams here, I'll see that I have all the operations that I could do with Teams. So people use that as well. It really depends on what people want to do. So, and again, it's important to notice sample queries are only samples. It's not it's not everything that is available on Microsoft Graph. They are like the most popular queries. In a way, it's what would help you start, but it's not everything that is available. If you are looking to discover everything that is available on Microsoft Graph, for example, you're building something and you're using Teams, right? And you know that the Teams APIs are available on Graph, but you might be wondering whether a specific resource that you're needing, is it available on Graph yet or no? For that, you go here to resources, and these resources have everything that is available on Microsoft Graph. This is V1, and here you can see what's available on beta as well. So this is more for the discovery. If you want to see what's on Microsoft Graph, you use all of that. What else, Aisha?
Awesome. So let's say that I'm good with /me, or maybe I want to get /me/mail or whatever. Can I update the query by just typing? Maybe I'm pro now. I don't want to click on samples. Can we update by typing?
Yes. So absolutely, you can. The query, what do you call it? This query box is like, it's a text box. You can put your query. If it's something like complicated with different params, etc., you can do all of that. And also, we have autocomplete in here to help you and guide you, because as you said, I want to see, let's see, as Aisha said, I want to see my mail, or maybe
calendar,
my Teams or my calendar, and then I might be like, would that be calendar, my calendar, get calendar? So this is like also a way to help easier, instead, maybe stay in here instead of going to the reference documentation and try to look for that. So say calendar, and then if I run this query, I don't know, do I have a calendar? It looks like I have a calendar with sample data.
Yeah, seems like you do.
And again, that's the beauty of this, like the having a sample data, because most of the things you have them, so you can test with things.
Yeah, so let's say that, we jump into Graph Explorer, learned a bit about Graph, what we can get as a data from the Graph API. And the next step for us is definitely consuming this Graph API in our code. Can Graph Explorer help us on that piece? Maybe before jumping into Maisa, we can see what we can get out of Graph Explorer.
Yes, so as you can see here in this area, you have everything related to a query. This endpoint, if there is like a request body, all of the things, what are the scopes, what are the permissions I would need, and then how the data looks like, what am I getting back? And so again, you see that data, and then you know how to use it. So other tools that you can use with Microsoft Graph, because I want to leave the code snippets to the end as a nice transition to Maisa. Other than that, maybe you are building an application that has a UI. So you can go to the toolkit and see, is there a component related to this? Let's see, for example, for profile, if I run this, it looks like there is a toolkit component here, for example. Or maybe I want an adaptive card. I also can see, there is a card for this. Here's the JSON where I could do this. And if I am building an app, and as Aisha just asked, okay, this is my endpoint, and I see my data. Now I want to see the code. How would I take that and take it to my app? We have code snippets available. Code snippets are available in different languages, which is the languages that we support for our SDKs. And I know potentially for this audience, you are interested in C# on .NET. So you can see the exact, this call, if I want to see the profile, here is the code in C#, and I can copy this code and immediately take it and use it in my app. And I don't know if Maisa can confirm or deny the fact that this would work in our SDKs.
And my final question to you, Rabeb.
Yeah.
When I change the query in the query box, will this code be also updated, or is it only available for GraphClient.me.get async? Or let's say when I use me/calendar, will this code be updated?
Of course. So again, these code snippets are related to the queries. So if it's a new query, it will be a different code snippet for it. For the most part, we have code snippets for literally each and every call that you can make. There are some very extreme 1 or 2 cases where potentially the code snippet is not available. And we make sure we are transparent, and there would be like an error message saying, oh, the code snippet is not available here. But that's really, we are talking about the odd 1% of calls. But for most calls, there is. So let's see if I pick calendar and then run query. And
Yeah,
as you
there
can
we go.
see, now it's different. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Rabeb, for walking us through what Graph Explorer is, and how we can get started learning about Graph using Graph Explorer. And I will quickly have Maisa and Waldek in so they can walk us through how we can move from Graph Explorer to the code, to the real code, and have live coding. So
Perfect.
thanks, Rabeb. Awesome. And
Thank
I'm
you.
handing over to Waldek.
Excellent, thank you. It was so cool to see that in action, like how easily you can test Microsoft Graph and see like what different endpoints are available, the data, see the shape, try different requests. And the cool thing, when you sign in with your account, you can test it on the data that you have, and you can not only get, but also update the data that you have and interact with that. Like really easily be able to test Microsoft Graph, how it works. And the really cool part, getting snippets of code. I bet everybody want to see if they actually work. Maisa, can we see them? Can we see them in action?
Well, of course we can.
One way to find out, right? Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. No, just kidding, guys. As I'm going to show you, you can use Graph Explorer to leverage all the cool things that we have here, and also get code snippets to help you building your own application. So as Rabeb was showing to you, so here I'm already logged in my testing account. So I'm using an admin account just to make sure that all in every scenario that I want to show is available. Because once you go deep into Microsoft Graph, you're going to realize some permissions need admin consent, some permissions doesn't need admin consent, so that's okay. I'm using the admin here just to show some scenarios. So first thing is Rebecca was showing to you is the me endpoint. So clicking here, you're going to see the C# code snippet generated. So
could you please zoom a little bit just to this so that everybody
sure,
can see it in browser?
Is it better?
One more?
Do you want me a little bit more?
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you. Excellent.
Okay.
Yes, way better. Thank you.
Yeah. So I did the call to me, and here I get a code snippet. The first line, as you can see, is a graph service client, which is only getting the client to call the Microsoft .com graph.microsoft.com API. And the second line here is the actual call that I'm doing. So the -me endpoint generates for me the graph client.me.get async because I'm doing a get operation. So I have a simple application here that I put some content in. So as you can see, I do have this graph client here. I do have the method that I'm using to generate the graph client. And what this method is doing, it's getting a token for me to say to Microsoft Graph, I am who I am saying that I am. Of course, because we need to validate if you are who you are saying to be, right? So what I'm doing here, I'm using the interactive browser credential options, which I will show you how this does work. And then I'm getting a token credential. So I'm generating a token to say to Microsoft Graph, I'm the admin account that I'm saying that I am. And here I also added like a few customizations, but this is only if you want to add more middlewares, because the Microsoft Graph, it already includes a lot of middlewares for you to help in your code in each day. So for example, we do have middlewares to help you retry requests if failed with the status code. We do have redirect middlewares, which, because sometimes we do a get operation for an endpoint and we do receive a redirect URL to call again to get what we are trying to get, because we are having these conversations in different services. So we do have a middleware that does the redirect for you. You don't need to be doing by yourself and getting the response and calling that graph again. So we do have a way that you can add more middlewares your own, because sometimes you do have some needs that are specifically to your business. And we do have situations where folks want to, for example, add what we call as a chaos handler, which will help you to test your application. Because for common errors, you can force the application to do the zeros so you can make sure that your application are dealing with all these errors that the API can return to you. But sometimes it's not that easy to force this error. So we do provide the chaos handler, for example, so you can add it to your application and use to test it. All these errors that Microsoft Graph can return to you and make sure that your application is handling the way that needs to be handled. So here, I'm just showing you that you can do it, but I'm using the default graph client, which has already the redirect, the retry, and the telemetry handlers as part of it. Cool. So let's go to the code. So here,
let's see it in action, right? Let's see if it actually works, or is it just smoke and mirrors?
Yeah. So here, I'm just going to run my application so you can see that I'm not doing anything but getting a client. If VS Code helps me here. Okay, so as you can see, there is you have now a client to call Microsoft Graph. So let's go back to Graph Explorer, get this bad guy here and see if we can get things to work, right?
Perfect.
So
I'm curious.
Yeah, let's see, right? So
will this
I'm
work?
going to add the result here. And also, I'm going to call this guy a user, not a var, because I'm returning a user, right? And me because it's me. So better names for our parameters. And then I'm going to add just a print here just for us to see some information. So for example, if I call this, oh, let me save it, right? Let me call it again. Okay, so after calling it, you're going to see that this is showing to you. This is the way I choose to log in the application. So as I mentioned before, the browser interactive way of doing it. So
Gotcha.
I have the accounts. So this one, the administrator, is the one that I'm using to do this demo. So I need to put my account, I need to put my password, and then you're going to receive a message saying that your authentication was complete. So let's see if I could get the information. See, here is the hello given name. So hello mood. Then I have a hello given name, hello display name, and my email. So hello mood administrator, your email is this one here. So as you can see, you can get the queries that you have in the Graph Explorer and call Graph. But we also can do some customization. So let's say that I don't really want to get all information that is part of the user. I just want, I don't know, a few informations that is important to me. So let's say I want to select, because select is the way we do this. So I want to select a few informations: the ID, the display name, my mail, user principal name, and the day that was created this user. So now, as you can see, I'm not retrieving the given name information anymore because I select only a few information. So let's see what's happened to our application if I call this. I just
sign in, another window.
Exactly. And then you can see a hello that does not have the mood information anymore because I'm not retrieving the given name, but it's still working for the display name and the mail information, which I am selecting as part of this query here. So this is a get operation.
Cool. So why would you choose only to select a few things as opposed to get always everything and then you don't need to update your code? Like, why not do that?
To get a better performance, right? Because user objects are huge. They have a lot of different informations from users in general. So to get a performance, a better performance in your application, sometimes you want to select just a few information that what really matters to you. You don't need to get everything that is part of it. But if you want more information, you can retrieve the whole user and use it. So that's
perfect.
That's a cool thing to do, right? So we did a get operation, right? So let's say that now we want to do a post operation. So we want to create something. We want to send something. Here again, we have the Graph Explorer, right? So for example, let's say I want to send a message. So I want to send an email for someone from my application. I will try to see if Graph Explorer has the sample for it. So send, let me see, send an email, right? Cool. We do have a send email here. So if I click here, the Graph Explorer already run my query, but just to make sure, you can look the URL on top of it and see that here we have the request body, that we are creating a message with the subject that we want, with the content that we want, with the receipts that we want. So after having this, we can use it again to go to our application and send an email. So I do have already a code that's ready for it that I will paste here, because I'm using a different email, because I want you to see that the email is coming through my inbox. So I'm going to select what I have here and paste into my VS. But just to show you again, I'm creating the message, right? Subject, body, receipts. I'm saying that I want this message to be saved in my send items. And then I'm creating that object that is in the Graph Explorer, the send mail post request body. And I'm going to send the email to my email, right? So let's see.
Will this work? Again, will this work? Will you get an email?
Fingers crossed, right? So, okay, .NET Run. I'm going to log in again. Authentication complete.
Yep.
And
perfect.
then
message sent.
Message sent. So
did it arrive though?
Did arrive though. Let's see. Look at that. We do have a hello from Graph. Woo-hoo. And the time is the time that it is right now. So
it's live.
That is working, right?
Perfect. That is so cool. We got a few questions folks asked. So first of all, sure. How can they get the SDK?
So that's super easy. And I'm showing you right now. So we do have this portal, which you can access through aka.ms-graph, which Rabab mentioned it before. So if you go there, you're going to see this amazing page here, which is our portal to help you start with the Microsoft Graph API, right? You can see that we have the Graph Explorer button right here, right? And we do have our docs. If you go click in the Microsoft Graph docs, you are going to see that we have an overview, the reference documentation, and also you see we do have a download SDKs button here. So you can click it and you are going to see an overview about our SDKs. This is not only related to the .NET, it's related to all SDKs. But here we have supported language. So if you click on C# here, you are going to see our GitHub repo, that it's our library, the Microsoft Graph.NET Client Library. And if you want to know, for example, how to install, how to create a client, we are also making this content available for you. So install an SDK. You can also see the language we support. Clicking on .NET, you're going to see that you can just install package Microsoft.graph in your command line, or you can also add as part of your .NET application. So I do have, for example, here, the package include to get the Microsoft Graph. And the command that I showed to you here, this install package, it's going to do exactly the same thing. It's going to put this line into your CS project so you can use Microsoft Graph. So Perfect. That's how you get the .NET SDK.
Perfect. So we've seen how you can basically the end-to-end story from exploring what is available on Graph, testing queries using the Graph Explorer, getting code snippets that actually work, pasting them in your app and seeing them work, doing auth, we've seen this end-to-end flow, and now we also know that you can get the SDK basically as a NuGet package, just like any other SDK that you would get in .NET.
Exactly.
Yes, sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, just one more mention, because like I said that we have the reference API documentation that you can see here, that we also provide information around everything that we have in Microsoft Graph. So you can see users, groups, applications, calendars, everything here. And also you can use the API reference doc to also get code snippets. So for example, I want to get a user, right? So I can open the API reference doc. I can see what get user does. I can see the permissions that I need to do it. So the user read, it's the least privilege, and the direct read write all, it's the most privileged permission that we need to call this endpoint. And then you see the HTTP request here. And scrolling down a bit, you are going to see the examples. And again, in the examples, you can access the C# code snippet and also the other language that we provide.
Perfect. So it's basically this end-to-end flow where you have all the info available about all the APIs on Microsoft Graph. It was so cool to see. As we're about to close up, I would and invite everybody back again on screen so that we can go through a few things that we have left. And I think all the questions that we've got, I think we will be answering them on GitHub in our repo, because if we start talking about auth now, we will not be done in 3 minutes time that we have left, right, Aicha?
Yeah, it's a bit complex, let's say, but that's why we have the templates. So go check out our repo. We have templates, and you can see, you can actually pretty much get over auth through our templates.
Exactly. And if anything fails, do reach out to us. We are here to help you. There is no question that is off the limits. You can ask us anything. How do you get the token? We know it. If you don't, if you're stuck, ask us, okay?
So before we jump into closing, I want to maybe go through one last question. There's a question in the chat about what are scopes, what is the permission? Can maybe Rabeb or Maisa explain why do we need permissions, and why do we need permissions, and what is the scope? What is the scope in your code you showed, Maisa?
So scopes that I showed in my code, it's exactly the same as permissions. It's just the way I call it in my application. And the permissions, they are needed for you to have to allow Microsoft Graph, to allow your application to call Microsoft Graph to do the operation that you are doing, because otherwise you are going to consent to everything, right? Your application are going to have a lot of permissions that is not needed to your business, which make your application not secure. So we do have permissions in the scope for users to get the permissions they need to use in the scenarios they need, and that's it. So the scopes are the permissions that we need.
Yeah.
If I quickly add to this, remember we are dealing with data. How would you feel, Aisha, if I go and I delete all your emails, or if I start like sending stuff from your emails?
I would be relieved for a second, to be honest. Yeah, just
in book zero, right?
Yeah.
Permissions are like giving the right permissions at the right levels for people to manipulate this data on an organizational level, like individual versus admin, etc. But that's the scopes.
Yeah, awesome. I think we have 1 last minute left, and we want to highlight there is only one place you want to be in the hackathon. It is ak.ms/hacktogether. And you will find the registration link there. But if you just want to go through, you can visit for registration, ak.ms/hacktogether/register. And finally, Waldek, why don't you let us know what's coming up in the upcoming weeks?
Exactly. So next week on Wednesday, there will be experts available from Microsoft to basically ask them anything. As you work with Graph, you will come across things. This is the time for you to ask us stuff. And then the last day of the hack, we will get together for the last time and talk about how you can go on beyond the hack. How can you get engaged with the community that we have so that you don't have to stop when the hackathon stops?
Awesome. So we're out of time, but that was an amazing session. Thank you so much, Maisa, Rabeb, and thanks, Woldek, for doing this together with me again.
And thank you.
And thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good hack. Bye, everyone.
Bye.